Oh, mate. Congratulations to Western United for winning their first ever A-League championship 2-0 over Melbourne City in the 2022 A-League Grand Final. And here we are for the post-match reaction live on YouTube. And very excited to chat to you guys about the game. Let's switch over webcams. Dude, what a fascinating game! A really interesting contest, and again, just the classic classic Western United story for this match. They held on. They got the 2 goals in the first half, and they were just simply unstoppable in defense. They were unstoppable is the wrong word to use. They were simply they were. City threw everything at them. I don't think City were at hitting their full potential, but what City were throwing at them was dealt with pretty easily. Honestly, pretty easily. There was never a point in that game where City were absolutely, where Western were really sweating, I thought, and potentially that could be up for, debate. But look, a really fascinating game. And West United, 3 years into their existence, have picked up their first A-League championship. Massive congratulations has to go to John Aloisi, who a lot of people criticised coming into this role and questioned coming into this role whether he could do the job. He has absolutely done the job. A tactical masterclass this season. Not just this game or this final series, but the whole season from West United and John Aloisi has been superb. And across that playing squad as well, a playing squad which, I mean, you looked at it heading into this season, and it didn't scream finals. I mean, when you look at my ladder prediction, I think I predicted them to come, 8th or something like that. I was like, oh, look, they'll be like mid-table. I wasn't, optimistic about them making like a deep push into finals or anything. But this squad has shown so much spirit and so much heart, and has gone so far to win the championship. I see you guys in the live chat. I see Barry here. I see Conscript. I see Lax. The regulars. Good to see you guys in here. What do you guys make of the match? What's our take in it? We're Western deserved leaders. I see Neon in here. Neon, how you going, man? We're Western deserved winners of this one. I mean, Melbourne City, their third consecutive grand final. We should just touch on them. Melbourne City, third consecutive grand final. It was set up for them to win this one. I thought they were going to win it. I thought their quality was going to step up, but they didn't in the end. It's as simple as that. But West United, man, just going back to looking at this squad and what they have, Lockie Wales, Connor Payne, the likes of Wenzel Hall's coming into the squad, some international signings in Rennie Crin, Leo Lacroix, Alexander Prijovic. It was interesting to see whether this sort of concoction of players that John Aloisi has had brought in together would work. And my goodness, has it absolutely worked. What else are we saying here? GG Weston says Dingo, like saying big ups to Risdon for playing the whole game. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was one of the first storylines early on in the game, man. I think it was, 10 minutes in? United were already up a goal. Josh Risdon, the captain for Western, and the right back, such a key defender for West United, went down and was holding his hip region and looked in pain across that first half. What an absolute legend for running out the entire game. What an absolute legend. Barry says West United deserves it. Dingo says, I was at the game. There you go. How was the atmosphere, Dingo? It looked awesome. City dominated most, especially in the second half. Indeed, they did. And in a second, we're going to look at the stats and talk about some of the tactical things that went on during the game. Con says, City denied for the 4th time by Western this season, and I loved it. That's right. That is right. Dingo says 2 pretty lucky goals. You could look at it that way. And I tell you what, let's jump into the stats right now and have a look at how the stuff through this game played out. So here we go. We've got some stats in front of us. We've got some things going on here. Of course, the second minute, that early goal, the fastest ever goal in A-League Grand Final history. Nuno Reis own goal. Initially, I thought it came off Prijovic there, and he was the one celebrating for it, as all Western players were. But a bunch of players went up for it. Great delivery by Ben Garuccio, who has had, in my opinion, probably his best ever season in the A-League, whipping in a fantastic corner. It's going to come off a header, and those dangerous balls, they can easily end up in the back of the net, and this one did. So the perfect start for West United. And I loved that we got that early goal, man, because I was like, this puts City on the back foot. This isn't going to be a grand final that City just dominate, which could have happened. And of course, half an hour. We should look at the other goal too, because it only came in the half an hour mark, man. You can see there, Alexander Prijovic, 30th minute. And of course, there was a little bit of controversy around that. It was initially called offside. When you looked at it, he was onside. He was onside. It's a fair goal for me. VAR had a check, and he's onside. So it's as simple as that. Having a look at the stats, guys. Check out these stats. So 16 shots for City, 5 on target. And look at that for Western United. Classic Western United, man. Classic Western United. 7 shots, 1 on target. 1 on target. They scored 2 goals and had 1 on target. Of course, I mean, you can explain it away. Of course, it's an own goal. But how about that? The 1 shot they had on target is Prijovic putting the ball in the back of the net for the second goal. Mate, it is classic Western United. Melbourne City just got Western United big time. For the as we brought up in the chat, for the 4th time this season, when you look at possession, 63% to Melbourne City. Of course, Western happy just to sit back and chill out, man. To sit back and chill out and absorb the pressure. Look at the corners down the bottom. 9 for City, only 1 corner. Of course, the first corner within a minute of the game to score that goal. Western United just simply took their chances. And it worked out. Man, incredible stuff. When you look at the way that Western United were able to hold out in the second half. The second half, which was the really interesting thing. I was like, when are Melbourne City going to step up? When are Melbourne City going to get into that top gear? Because they have some of the best attacking players in the competition and best creative players in the competition. And I was like, that we have to see more. We have to see more. And they simply didn't hit it. City's accuracy with their passing, their distribution, some of the decision making, I thought was a bit off from them tonight. It was one of their weaker performances we've seen from them across this season. And it goes back to, you think back to a few weeks ago when they came back from Champions League. They haven't looked like the same team. They lost away to Perth Glory, the Wooden Spooners. They got that win at home against Wellington Phoenix to claim the premiership. But still, that was a tight game where Wellington almost came back. And then, of course, the semi-finals, 0-0 with Adelaide. And then in the second leg, they concede first. Of course, the Jamie McLaren steps up big time to rescue it for them. 2-1, they get through. But it's the City almost getting found out. You know what I mean? In these last few weeks, to round out the season in this final series. And Western United have capitalised. They've taken their chances and they've been able to defend out. But honestly, I think when you look at City now and compare it to City mid part of the season where they were like demolishing teams, they've dropped a little bit. And I don't know whether the Champions League has maybe played into that potentially. But yeah, what else are we saying here in the chat? Marcus says sometimes luck is all you need in those big games. You're right. In big games like this. That little moments go a long way. Dingo says Jamison is too confident. He messes up so much. I loved the fight sort of going throughout the game. The little competitiveness. Jamison, but Jamison and Risdon were wrestling a little bit. Jenkinson, who came off after the first half, he was had a little moment with Connor Payne there, potential headbutt, but there was nothing in it. Michael, yes, I did watch the All-Stars game. That was a whole lot of fun, of course, and a nice little entree for the early grand final. Lax coming in with a hot take. Tilio honestly should have started or got sobbed on at halftime because he really made a difference. He did, and again, that's classic Marco Tilio. He's a great weapon to have. I agree. He should have been brought on earlier. They're down 2-0. They're down 2-0 at halftime within half an hour. You have to make those big plays there. The questionable decision, though, and I guess this is the tricky thing for City coach Patrick Kisnorbo, is like, who do you take off? And he decided to take off Roston Griffiths, which I thought was a questionable move. You know, you lose that stability in midfield when you bring off your key defensive midfielder like that. Tilio played out in the wing and look, tried to get into the game, but again, it didn't work out in the end, man. It didn't work out in the end. That's right, Barry. What else are we saying here? Dingo says, I now expect to concede within the first 15 minutes of every game. I get excited when we don't. Pizza Time says, I wish the final was Adelaide victory instead. It almost was. It almost could have been, hey? It almost could have been. But how does this rank up for you guys as well in terms of grand finals, like across all time? You know what I mean? across all time, where does that rank up for you guys? For me, I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think it's in the top 5 by any means though. But still an enjoyable and enthralling grand final. And now the interesting thing for me, for Western United, and here's the thing that I want to raise up with you guys, and we'd love to get your thoughts, but in terms of Western United and whether this is the start of an exciting chapter for Western United. I mean, they've done this 3 years into their existence, no home stadium, no home ground, still a growing fan base. They're just really still bringing in fans to come to their games, and they've done this. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, not only on the field, whether they can sort of establish a bit of a dynasty in terms of can they will they be finishing top 2, next season? Can they go one step further? But also off the field, do attendance numbers, regardless of whether they're playing at Mars Stadium in Ballarat, regardless of playing at Amy Park, regardless of whether they're playing down in Launceston in Tasmania, Hobart, whatever, do their attendances go up now, Western United? Do their membership numbers grow up? It's interesting. It's interesting. 5 at the back in a final, says Marcus. I believe both of these teams played a 4 at the back. 4 at the back. Both teams stuck to their usual formations, 4 at the back. Below average, in my opinion, says Pizza Time. I think. I mean, the style that Western play, it's not necessarily like an entertaining, like grand final sort of, big goal scoring side. They're a team that are happy to take their chances. I mean, again, when we looked at the stats a moment ago, I mean, we saw it 7 shots and 1 on target for Western throughout the whole game, 37% possession, and that was the winning side, man. That was the winning side. So, yeah, man. Credit to Western United, though, dude. Credit to Western United. I thought Neil Kilkenny was superb, controlling things in midfield. Leo Lacroix, dude, and just shout out to Leo Lacroix and Tomoki Imai, who, I'm just thinking about it now, I'm going to say it now, are the best centre-back partnership in the league right now. I can say that without hesitation, that Leo Lacroix and Tomoki Imai are the best centre-back pairing in the competition right now. I think Roderick Miranda's fantastic. Kai Roll's superb. Obviously, Curtis Good and Nuno Reis are class. But Tomoki Imai and Leo Lacroix just simply did not commit one mistake tonight. They were unstoppable. Crazy's in here, says, well done, West United. Micah says, I saw City with a 5-2-3-1 in the Paramount graphic. Never trust the graphics. Never trust the graphics. I can tell you that. Almost every game, one team's graphics incorrect. So yeah, Roston Griffiths was listed as a defender because he is, I guess, if we had to label him, probably a defender, but he did play as the 6. Dingo says Western have 5,000 members. I expect at least 6,000 next season. I think that's achievable, dude. When the exciting thing as well, and not just from a Western point of view, but from a Victorian point of view, the other Melbourne clubs and also the clubs around Australia, is that Western United they're gonna rise. That Western United have always been a bit of a banter club, right? I mean, in a lot of the content we've been doing, I see comments like that all the time, and I understand it, man. Western United are a bit of a banter club. People like to joke about them, and or maybe have a dig that they shouldn't have been brought into the competition. Is this going to change the conversation now around Western United? Should we be taking them seriously now? I mean, not that I haven't been. I think that Western United have so much potential to grow, but I think this just legitimizes them just that little bit more. You know what I mean? It's like it's not just Western United. It's like these this wandering circus of a club. This is Western United, now the best team in Victoria and the best team in the country. So next season, we have to keep an eye out for Western United, man. It's really exciting too, because I think heading into next season, we're going to have 3 very good Victorian clubs who, I mean, as it stands now, when it comes to ladder predictions for next season, have to be up there for the shout for top 4 as they were this year. But I mean, no one expected that. People were calling for City and Victory to be up there in the top 4. No, I didn't really see many people calling for Western to be up there. But now, honestly, if I do a ladder prediction just off the top of my head, these 3 Victorian clubs that are in the top 4, easily. And are we going to see a bit of maybe a Victorian dynasty? You know what I mean? Where Victorian dynasty where all three Victorian clubs are going to sort of be vying for the championship for the next few years. That would be interesting. That'd be interesting. Oh, mate. What are we saying here? H. Simon says Jamie Young's an outstanding keeper. Jamie Young, dude, I should have mentioned him. I should have dropped his name. Jamie Young, superb. Didn't have to make too many stunning saves. Like, a lot of the saves. And that just goes to show, even though City had 16 shots, 5 on target, it was still comfortable enough for Jamie Young, right? Would you guys agree with that? I thought he was comfortable enough in terms of nothing was really... It wasn't really tested to his limits. All the shots, a lot of the shots coming in from range, Andrew Naboot cutting in onto his left foot, some long-range strikes from Scotty Galloway, from Jamison. It was all just flying into his arms, you know what I mean? Flying into his arms. What are we saying in here? Person 1201 says, Western Sydney. Can they bounce back next year? Oh, mate. Dr. Dingo is coming in saying City need a bit of a... bringing some new players here. New keeper, new winger, new centre-back, and new left-back. Big call, Dingo. Big call. Big call. I think City are all right. I think City are all right, man. I think when you look at those positions, I think the keeper... Look, I know a lot of people are a little bit sus when it comes to Tommy Glover. You know, on his day he's very good, but he has made some blunders this season. New winger. I don't know, man. I don't know if City really need a new winger. I mean, they're pretty stacked up top, and you got Mike Otilio. My thing is, like, I wonder who's going to be departing City. You know, who's going to feel like maybe they can't really achieve anything more there. Another centre back probably wouldn't hurt. And a left back, I mean, Jamison's doing a decent job. I can see him going another year next season. And they've got a really talented youngster in Jordan Boss coming through the ranks as well. So, yeah, man. Football Capitals in here says Victory will win it next season. 3 Melbourne teams in a row. Dude, that could happen. I could see that happening for sure. Imagine that, and they just like all just take turns, just City, Western, Victory. City, Western, Victory. That'd be interesting. And so, actually, a good question for you guys is, we're now talking about like these 3 Victorian clubs and how they're sort of dominating the league. Who's going to be the team to sort of be up there with them? Is it Adelaide United as it was this year? Are Sydney FC going to bounce back? Are Wanderers finally going to have a good season? You know, who's going to be the team to jump up there with them? City picked up Talbot. That is. Thanks for reminding me. That is a good point. Talbot, a defender who can play either side as well. Marcus says, regardless of formation, City couldn't have sat back in that game. It was a weird one because City were like pushing, man. They committed numbers, but regardless of what they did, I just felt like Western just didn't look like they were going to be broken down at any point. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Good signing. It is a good signing. I think City picking up Talbot is a good signing. Man. Ivan's in here, says, I'm getting the feeling this guy's either too young or doesn't recognize anything pre-A-League, aka the NSL. Correct. I wasn't born. Well, not that I was born, but I wasn't old enough to remember back then. So for me, it's all about the A-League. Central Coast Mariners to be up there. Central Coast Mariners will be in the mix. Dude, I hope so. It's going to be an interesting off-season for the Mariners in terms of can we maintain the same group of players? Who does Monty choose to bring in? So, this off season is going to be really interesting. Really interesting for maybe more so than in past years, man. I mean, when you look at the number of clubs that really need a rebuild. I mean, Sydney FC, Western Sydney Wanderers, Perth Glory, Brisbane Roar. Like all these teams need something different. So, Central Coast Mariners certainly could be up there. They could be up there for sure. Footy Galore says we need more A-League teams to compete like how Western United did. Credit to them, man. Credit to them. I mean, again, the smallest Victorian side. And they've done a fantastic job. So, look, honestly, from like a neutral point of view, I want to see Western United grow. I want to see their fan base grow. Hopefully, this is the start of like a really bright era for them. I say a really bright era. I mean, like, They haven't had any other errors. They're that young, you know what I mean? Dingo says, where do you think City would be if we kept Atkinson? Nowhere different. Nowhere different. It's just one player. It's just one player, you know. He's a right back, and they brought in Jenkinson to replace him. So where would they be? They wouldn't be any lower, or they wouldn't be any higher. I mean, they won the premiership. They won the premiership and were close to winning the championship. Jets could be back, says Marcus. Jets could be back. Newcastle are an interesting one. The Daniel Pena situation is one that I'm going to keep an eye on. We're hearing rumors. Transfer rumors. I'm going to be doing a lot of content coming up about some of the transfer rumors we're hearing and all this. Daniel Pena potentially going to Sydney FC, for those that haven't heard. If Jets can keep a hold of Pena, then they're absolutely a chance for the top six. Dingo says, I kind of hope Jets and Phoenix are good next year. Phoenix. Here's the thing. You know, I was actually, funny enough, I was thinking about this earlier today about Wellington Phoenix. Like, they ended up having a very good squad this year that performed very well under Ufuk Talay. Imagine what they could have achieved had they had just like a regular season playing at home. Like, Wellington Phoenix almost finished as high as 4th, even 3rd. They obviously ended up finishing 6th. But imagine how far they could have gone if they were like playing at home too. So Wellington, absolutely. Imagine that. Like, maybe next season the top 4 will be the Victorian sides and Wellington Phoenix. Do you think Victory will sign Nani? I hope it happens. I keep hearing about it. I don't know how much validity there is to it, but I hope it happens. I did see something recently about how the APL is really going to make a push for some big name marquees for next season, which is great, man. It's what we need. I think it's a big part. I think it's a big feature of the A-League. I don't think it's a bad thing. Marcus says every club should just find new foreign players. This has been a good... Marcus, just on that comment, this has been a good season for foreign players. Alexander Privic has been fantastic. Lee Lacroix, incredible. Roderick Miranda. Newcastle Jets, bringing in Daniel Pena. Bringing in Becca Mikaldadzi. Who else? Benny Kalolo at the Mariners has been fantastic as well. Jason Cummings, I know he's got... he's going to play for Australia, but he was obviously plying his trade over in Scotland. So there's been a number, and I'm probably forgetting heaps too, but there's been a number of players brought in from overseas. Ryan Mashan at Melbourne Victory's been great. Brought in from overseas who have slotted into the A-League quite comfortably in a year that's been quite difficult, and pardon me, and done very, very well. There's obviously been a handful that hasn't done so well when you look at some of the teams towards the bottom of the ladder, but yeah, man. Barry, thoughts on Channel 10 and Paramount's coverage for the season? Look, I think it was fine. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. I'll just say that. Excuse me. Look, if we can watch the games, we're fine. There has been plenty of hiccups. When you think of the elimination final, Adelaide Mariners, that was the most recent thing for me. Missing a goal live is just inexcusable. There's been a lot of stuff-ups with the graphics here and there, especially in those early rounds. Some audio issues. So look, there has been the occasional hiccups here and there, but overall, I've enjoyed it. One thing that I've really enjoyed about the broadcast, and let me know if you guys agree or not, I've actually really enjoyed the the commentary teams, what do you call them? Like the panel, Neve Owens, Tara Rushton, Archie Thompson, Mark Milligan, Bruce Jitte, and then obviously the commentary team has been fantastic. It's so great to have Simon Hill back. I think Robbie Thompson has been so great. I love hearing Robbie Thompson. Daniel McBreen has been great in commentary. Daniel McBreen's been fantastic. Ben Homer. I love listening to Ben Homer. I think he's great as well. Dingo says we need it back on KO. So Barry agrees as well. I do see a lot of comments about that, like every week, talking about KO. We just want it back on KO. Blah blah blah. And I understand that too, because obviously, we all want sort of our sport on one sort of like local, one platform. And many people, many sports fans in Australia obviously have KO subscriptions, and that's where it was previously. But This is the future now, hey? This is the future where I guess we've got to juggle all these different subscriptions. Yeah, man. Yes, Barry. Show more games on 10, like 2 or 3 a week. 2 or 3 a week for sure. Would love that. I don't know how soon they'd ever do that. I guess it would mean like a total shift in there, in how they broadcast the games. Because I don't know how it works exactly, but they obviously want to get as many people subscribing to Paramount Plus as possible. So they got to be careful with how many games. If the league expands and we start playing, 7, 8 games a week, then yeah, maybe we're looking at 2 or 3 games televised. Oh, mate. This has been, honestly though, this has been a really, really fun season. This has been such a fun season, guys. And it's crazy to think it's over. It's crazy to think it's over. It has actually gone by quite quickly, especially like this last couple weeks, few months. Has it gone by very, very quick? What else are we saying here? Jacob says if we played at home this season, the Phoenix will be champions. Micah says it would be a big demand for 10 to broadcast 2 free games. Yeah. Do Phoenix get an apology after your ladder predictions? Check out the a couple weeks ago I did a reaction to my ladder prediction video, which was I sort of discuss that whole situation. For those that don't know, I predicted Wellington to come last, which honestly I still think it was fair at the time. I still think it was fair. Like I gave my reasons for it, and then I gave my reasons why in that reaction video. I gave my reasons as to why they didn't finish there, and it made sense. It was like they made 2 incredible signings. And played with an incredible amount of heart and spirit once again. Wellington are just always one of those teams who just you just can't write off just because they've got so much heart. Pardon me, so much spirit. But mate, there is still plenty of content to come, even though the football is over. Plenty of content to come here on the Coast Watch Football YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to stick around. But guys, make sure you hit like on this video, this live stream. Hope you've enjoyed all the chat. This has been an epic grand final. Western United 2, Melbourne City 0. Western United are officially champions for season 21-22. What is in store for season 2022-23? We're going to find out in a few months' time. Guys, make sure you stick around to the channel. There's still so much more to come. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Lockie. This is Coast Watch Football.